you kind of have an idea of what those numbers are without even calling the dealership. Hey guys, I'm Nate. Welcome back to the channel. So I got a comment in one of my previous videos from a guy named Toys R Us. I really missed that store, by the way. Yes, I'm a big kid. So I had asked in how to buy a Hellcat. If you guys were interested in knowing how a lease gets calculated, let me know and I'll do a video. And so Toys R Us wanted to know, and here we are. So a lease calculation is pretty simple. Basically, there's two parts to it. Well, three parts if you have sales tax in your state. So the first part is you're going to pay for the depreciation of the car. And then the second part is you're going to pay a finance charge for that money, that depreciation. And then the third part, if it's applicable in your state, is you're going to pay sales tax on the payment. So let's go through each one of these pieces one by one. All right, so the depreciation part, let's get into that. And we're going to use some kind of easy to work with numbers so I can do this all in my head as well. So let's assume for the depreciation part that you're buying a new Hellcat, and let's say that the price that you're paying for that Hellcat is $70,000. And let's say you're going to take a lease for 36 months, and after that 36 months, the car is going to be worth $34,000, okay? So that means over that time, you have lost in depreciation $36,000. So what does that mean in terms of the depreciation portion of your lease payment? Well, it's pretty simple. Basically, it's that entire depreciation amount. So in our case, $36,000 over the 36 months divided by however many months your lease is. So we said that lease was going to be 36 months. So it's $36,000 divided by 36 months. That's $1,000 a month. So that's just on your depreciation. So now you need to figure out, oh, well, you're gonna have to, money isn't free, right? So no one lends you money for nothing, unless there are some kind of manufacturer incentives, but typically money is not free. So that's where your finance or your interest portion comes into play. What lease companies have done, I guess, to simplify their life, and actually it simplifies this calculation as well, is you'll notice that when you go to lease a car, there's something called a money factor. It's just an interest rate expressed as this value. And if you want to get a rough idea of what interest rate a money factor is equal to, just multiply it by 24. So if you have a money factor and it's 0.00100, so if you multiply 0.00100 by 24, I think you end up with 0.024, which is 2.4%. That's roughly the interest rate on that. So now, how does money factor, how can you use it when you're trying to calculate this lease payment? So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take the price that you're buying the car for, which is called your adjusted capitalized cost, and I'll get into that in a little bit, and you're going to want to add the residual value of the car, right? So however much the car is going to be worth at the end of the lease term, and this again is spelled out for you, and then you're going to want to multiply that by the money factor. This is going to give you your finance charge. So let's say in the example I was giving, so you had $70,000, let's just assume that that was your adjusted capitalized cost, and your residual value is $36,000. You add those together, that's $106,000. You multiply that by the 0.001. So basically that comes out to $106. So $106 is your finance charge. So now you have $1,000 is your base payment, that's just covering your depreciation. You have $106 that's covering your finance, so you're at $1,106 for your lease. Now on top of that, you have sales tax. So depending on your sales tax rate, whatever it is, you just need to add that on top, right? So if your sales tax rate, just to make this easy, let's say your sales tax rate is 1%, then 1% of $1,106, like $11 or something like that. So your final payment will be $1,117. Fact check all this math when I edit this video, by the way. All right, so now you know the three core things of your lease. Why I wanted to dig into this depreciation part of your payment, why that's so important. Because obviously, as you can see from the calculation, a good portion of your lease payment comes from that. And also a slight portion of your interest payment comes from that too. So what do you want to do in order to lower this cost? So basically what you should be doing is you should be negotiating, even when you're leasing a car, you should be negotiating it as if you're buying it. It's your adjusted capitalized cost is the selling price of the car. Yeah, I know you're not buying it, but that's the price that the leasing company is paying for the car. So let's say MSRP, let's say we had just done that Hellcat at an MSRP deal, and that was the $70,000. Okay, so what if we got 10% off? And RV Boondocker put in one of my previous posts, go to Costco, that's how you should buy any car, and you will get 10% off no haggling, no hassling. I think that's amazing for not doing any work. And so if you can do that, do it for sure. It's definitely worth a $55 Costco membership. So let's say we use our Costco card to buy a Hellcat. Well, so now you took a $70,000 car and you just knocked $7,000 off of that. So what does that $7,000 mean? Well, it just means that your adjusted capitalized cost now, instead of $70,000, is $63,000, right? Now your residual is always calculated based off the MSRP. That's just how it's done. So the residual still stays at $34,000, but your adjusted capitalized cost is $63,000. So there's less money there, right? So 63,000 minus 34,000, that's now what, $29,000, I think? So you take $29,000 and you spread it out over 36 months, and that comes to less. For that, I need a calculator. All right, so $29,000 divided by 36 comes out to $805. So what did we just do to our lease payment? Well, we took it from $1,000 to $805, right? So almost $200 off by negotiating that price that we're paying for the car up front, what that the leasing company is paying for the car. So you guys see how important it is to make sure you negotiate that and understand that you can negotiate the selling price of a car even when you're leasing the car and you're not buying it. So typically my advice to you, this is kind of how I handle this, is when I'm leasing a car, I don't typically tell the dealer that I'm looking to lease. I will typically, they'll ask, hey, you looking to lease or finance? And I'll say, well, let's negotiate the price. And then based on that, we'll run the numbers and see kind of where we're at. So that's why I do that, because I want to negotiate the best deal on that car up front. So then now you have $800 instead of $1,000. Obviously the finance charge is going to be less because your capitalized cost came down. It's $63 instead of $70,000. So remember, 63 plus the 34, you do all of that math. That's definitely something that you're going to want to do. So the numbers that you're going to want to get from a dealer so that you can kind of calculate all this on your own is you need the money factor. The money factor is typically going to be sent by the leasing company or the bank that's going to do the lease. And then you're going to negotiate the capitalized cost. Now the capitalized cost is going to include some items like the lease acquisition fee, dealer fees, all of that stuff is what you're going to be paying, right, for when you're buying the car. So if you can knock off dealer fees, if you can knock off all of that stuff, that just means less that you're going to have to worry about either putting down to offset, or that you're going to have to worry about paying, right, paying in a monthly fee. So just keep that in mind. And if you have a trade that you're trading in as part of a lease, the other thing you should keep in mind is you will also get money back for that. So if you're not upside down in your trade, well, if you're upside down in your trade, that's going to go now towards a lease. You're going to have a higher lease payment. If you're not upside down, you have some equity in whatever you're trading in, that equity is going to be used to offset your capitalized cost, right? So let's say in those scenarios, I said your capitalized cost was $63,000. Well, if you're trading in a car and let's say that car is worth another $10,000, then now your your adjusted capitalized cost is $53,000, even less. So keep that in mind. That all applies, all of that stuff. You're negotiating your trade-in value, negotiating all of this stuff. It all applies to your bottom line, which is going to affect your monthly payment. So you need to figure out the adjusted capital cost. The stuff you won't know, and that's the stuff you need to figure out, is the money factor and the residual value. The residual values is basically what the leasing company or the financing company is forecasting that car will be worth at the end of the lease term. That value will be basically affected by how long your lease term is and how many miles you go. So if you're going more miles, you're gonna have a lower residual value. If you go less miles, you're gonna have a higher residual value, less lease term, same thing, right? It's just how much the car is gonna be worth at the end of the term. And so they approximate that. I mean, they can't see into the future, so they just have to do their calculations, and I guess they make their best guess. You can go on, I know I mentioned this in that video, you can go on the Edmund forums, and if you ask in there or you look at what other people are asking, they will probably be able to post what those values are from the manufacturer. So if you're looking for a Hellcat, you can be like, hey, I'm looking for a Dodge Challenger Hellcat, wide body, and I wanted to know what the residual and the money factors are. And they'll post that. And so you kind of have an idea of what those numbers are without even calling the dealership. And then the other thing keep in mind is if there's any incentives on the car, again, those all come off your adjusted capitalized cost, right? So if they're giving $5,000 off for buying cars or something like that, then that $5,000 comes off of whatever you're negotiated for the car, right? Unless it's included in that. So there's another thing. Let me know if you guys are interested, and I'll do a video on it. It is why you shouldn't always just default turn your lease in at the end of your lease, and there may be some other options there that can actually net you some cash. If you're interested in knowing about that, let me know. I'll do a video specifically on that. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Toys R Us, I hope this kind of answers your question, and I hope you got something out of this. Check out these next videos, and I'll see you there. Thanks. Bye.